Chapter 12. Darkwood has its own idea of time. Days don't really feel like days here. The sky hangs in this permanent almost evening, the kind of light where you're never sure if the sun is going down or just taking a break. The river below the castle never shuts up. The forest never stops moving. Somehow, in all of that, weeks pass. I learn the corridors of the castle in that slow, third time getting lost in the same hallway way. I learn which stairs are safe and which ones try to slide you into a wall if you don't step right. I learn that most vampires either ignore me, stare at me too long, or smirk like they're already writing my obituary in their heads. I learned that volunteer exists mostly as a presence for now. Footsteps that make the floorboards behave, a shadow at the edge of the hall, a voice behind closed doors. Martha keeps me away from him until she's sure I won't trip over my tongue and die of embarrassment on the spot. I also learn that sleep here is different, less deep, like my brain is always half listening for the corridor sounds. Tonight, I don't even pretend to sleep. The air in my room feels thick, so I slip out and head down towards the main doors. The castle is quieter than I have ever heard it. No arguments down the halls, no clatter of armor, no stray laughter, just the river, the wind, and my own footsteps. The front doors are open. Martha is sitting on the stairs. The steps are wide, worn in the middle from centuries of feet. The stone still holds the day's warmth. Beyond them, Darkwood stretches out. Trees like black flames, a river glinting as it loops around the hill, insects buzzing high above. The sky is that funny, not quite night again, tinged purple at the edges. Martha is halfway down, with elbows on her knees, cloak pulling around her. She doesn't turn when I appear. Of course she knows I'm there. Can't sleep? She asks. Can't tell if it's allowed, I say, coming down to sit next to her. Feels like the place might bite if I close my eyes for too long. She huffs out a small breath that might be a laugh. It bites either way, she says. At least if you sleep, you miss some of it. We sit in silence for a while. The river does its endless white noise thing. Somewhere in the trees, something screams and then gets abruptly quieter. Darkwood's lullaby. Up close, she looks tired. Not in the human I had 3 hours of sleep way. In the I've been holding something heavy for a very long time way. There are faint scorch marks on the edge of her cloak from some spell earlier. She didn't bother fixing them. You drag all your strays out here? I ask. Or am I special? She side-eyes me. You are special, she says. Most strays don't live long enough to sit on these steps. Comforting, I say. She glances back at the castle. It is a tradition, she says slowly. When things are too loud inside, you come here and pretend that the forest will answer your questions. Does it? No, she says. But it makes you feel small enough that your questions stop shouting. We let the forest do its job for a bit. My brain, which has been full of corridors and training and suspicious stairs, slowly flattens out into something quieter. So, I say eventually, because if I don't say it now, I never will. How many people have died on this hill? She snorts softly. You never ask the little questions, huh? I can ask those too, I say. Like, why the kitchen smells like someone murdered a goat in there, but this one feels relevant. Martha leans back on her hands and squints out at the trees. I do not know the number, she says. No one does. Battles, duels, executions, accidents, vampires, humans, elves, things with no names. The earth here eats a lot. That's cheerful, I say. For us, it is just background, she says. Darkwood was already full of ghosts before I was born. If I lived like humans do, counting every death and breaking over each one, I would have gone mad in my first century. You don't care? I ask. Her head snaps towards me with her eyes bright. Of course I care, she says, sharper than before. Do not confuse adaptation with apathy, Max. Okay, I say quickly. Sorry. She sighs and looks away again. We just learn to carry it differently, she says. Humans are like mayflies. You burn bright and short. Each death is a punch in the face because you do not expect it. For us, death is more like weather. It comes, it goes. You make plans around it. You do not stand in the rain and shout at every drop. That sounds horrible, I say. It is practical, she says. If I fell apart every time someone I knew burned, starved, or exploded, I would be in tiny pieces by now. Great, I say, and I am sitting in the middle of your storm with no umbrella. She gives a tiny smile. Oui, she says, you are very wet. We both snort at that, with tension in the air thinning a bit. I pick at a crack in the stone with my shoe. Sasha's mother, I say quietly. You killed her here? Martha's jaw tightens. Not here, she says. Not on these steps, somewhere else, but yes. Do you regret it? I ask. She is quiet long enough that I start to regret asking. I regret many things, she says at last. The timing, the way it broke her, the way it made things between our worlds even worse. But in that moment, with what I knew, with what she had done and would do, no, I do not regret stopping her. Feels like you two are on a collision course, I say. Martha's mouth twists. We have been for centuries, she says. Darkwood and Darton, my family and hers, all of it. You are just walking into the middle of the story. Lucky me, I mutter. Another long stretch of quiet. The sky darkens a little more. Somewhere deep in the castle, a bell chimes once. I realize I've been chewing on the same thought since we got here. It's not going away on its own. Why me? I ask. She doesn't pretend not to understand. You could have left me in that alley, I say. Alinius could have left me as a street art in Targetford. Sasha could have erased me and just not left me any toys. There are a million other idiots you could drag through your mess, so why me? Martha stares out at the forest for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is softer than I'm used to. Because you didn't stop, she says. That's vague, I say. You know I hate vague. She sighs. You fell into our world by accident once. She says. Fine, that happens. Ces corridors sont capricieux. The Nexus is moody, things slip, but you kept coming. Even after Sasha ripped your mind apart, even after Martha of before, she gestures at herself with a weird little circle, made sure you forgot parts of it. You kept finding the cracks. That wasn't exactly a choice, I say. The library thing just happened. No, she says. You could have begged Sasha to erase you again. You could have left me in that alley with Louis instead of hitting the button. I remember the alley. The wall, the rain, Louis's polite voice, Martha's hand crushing mine, her kiss, the red light under my fingers. My heart stutters just thinking about it. You stepped in front of me when you could have stepped away, she says. You walked into Darkwood with your eyes mostly open. You are catastrophically human, Max. You panic, you complain, you hate yourself in the mirrors, and somehow that is exactly the thing none of us can fake. Being a disaster? I say weakly. Being real, she says, glaring at me. We are playing with the big patterns here. Balance, fate, all that grand nonsense. We forget what it looks like when someone makes a choice that is not written in a prophecy or calculated on a council table. You keep ruining the script. I like that. I look down at my hands. They still have the faint scars from Almiron. I don't feel particularly powerful. Mostly, I feel like someone who has been hit by too many different kinds of weather. And you think that's worth all this trouble? I ask. I think it is interesting enough to keep you alive, she says, when I can. Something warm and painful flickers in my chest. I'm not sure if it's hope or indigestion. Her gaze drops to my pocket, where the device presses against the fabric. And then there is that, she says. I touch it automatically. The casing is warm against my fingers, as always. Her mercy, Martha says. That is what I call it when I am being generous. Sasha wiped you and still left you with a way to scream for help. Very dramatic, very her. It saved us, I say. In the alley, in the end. It almost killed us too, she points out. If it had dropped us into a wall or into the middle of her tower, we would both be much flatter right now. But yes, it saved us. I pull it out. The red glow is weaker than ever, hardly more than a tired coal in a fireplace. What happens if I press it now, I ask. Maybe nothing, Martha says. Maybe you will make a tiny hole in the world and fall through it alone. Maybe Sasha will feel it and pull on the thread with both hands. I do not know. That is the problem with the corridor toys, mon cher. They always belong more to the person who made them than to the one who holds them. Do you think she still feels it? If I were her, I would, Martha says. If I knew that the boy I had erased was still carrying my magic around, I would keep a little corner of my attention on it, just in case. So as long as I have this, she has what? A hook into me? Not a hook, Martha says. A possibility, a direction, a way to say mine, even if she never uses it. I turn the device over in my hand. It is heavier than it should be. As long as you carry it, Martha says quietly, part of you is still standing in a corridor between worlds. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That is not an accusation, Max, just physics. And you hate physics, I say. She snorts. Corridor physics? Yeah. The river is rushing on. A bat loops over our heads and vanishes into the dark. I think about Earth. My parrots in our flat, probably eating dinner right now. My bed, empty. My school bag, still by the door. My phone laying face down on a castle table in a different universe. If I went back now, if I somehow found a way, I would be what? Some weird guy who had nightmares and skipped his school and couldn't stand bright lights because Darkwood is always dim? I would check the news for mysterious forest explosions and pretend I didn't know anyone involved. I would live the rest of my life waiting for orange light to cut my ceiling in half. I look at Martha beside me, at the way she sits like she owns the night, at the tired lines around her mouth, at the faint soot on her cloak. If I keep it, I say slowly, I keep one door open to her. We, she says, and to Darton, and to all of that. We. And if I throw it, then you are truly here, she says, with me, in this stupid, hungry, beautiful place. No more emergency exits you do not control. I roll the device between my fingers. My hand is shaking a little. You know this is very dramatic, I say. Symbolism and everything. Humans love symbolism, she says. Helps you pretend your choices mean something, eh? Do they? She shrugs. Sometimes. I stare at the little red glow. I remember Sasha's voice. Press the red button to get out of whatever you got yourself into. I remember her hair in the classroom's illusion, her smirk in the Nexus, her angry, disappointed eyes in the plaza. Sorry, Ginger, I whisper, so quietly I am not sure even Martha hears it. Then I stand up. The movement surprises my own body for a moment. I sway. Martha watches me without getting up. No order, no protest, just those bright red eyes following every little tremor in my hand. The steps stretch down in front of us, into a narrow strip of turf, and then the drop into the forest. The river glints in the distance, with its white teeth in the dark. I draw my arm back and throw. The device arcs through the dim air, a small, stupid piece of metal against a huge sky. For a moment the red light looks brighter. Then it tumbles down past the lower steps and vanishes into the shadow and bushes. There is no explosion, no scream, no flash of orange, just a soft rustle and then nothing. The weight in my pocket is gone. The weight in my chest changes shape. When I sit down again, my legs feel weirdly light, empty and heavy at the same time. That's it, I say. No prophecy, thunder, no fate popping out to applaud. This is not a theater, Martha says. No one is going to clap, mon cher. She tilts her head. How do you feel? Stupid, I say honestly. Also weirdly relieved, and slightly like I just threw my last parachute off a cliff. She nods. That is about right. We sit there, breathing the same cold air. I realize my shoulders have dropped a few centimeters without me noticing. After a while, she shifts closer. Not a dramatic swoop, just a small slide on the stone. Her arm brushes mine, then stays there. You know you have absolutely no idea what you signed up for, she says. That seems to be the theme of my life, I say. Every time I think I understand anything, Sasha proves I don't. Martha makes a face. Do not give her that much credit, she says. She is not the only one who can surprise you. Yeah? I ask. Martha turns, and before I can come up with another dumb joke, she leans in and presses her forehead to mine. It is not the panicked alley kiss. There is no rain, no shouting, no nights. Just her cold skin against mine, her hand finding the back of my neck with the quiet weight of her presence. I let my eyes close. For a second, the whole world narrows down to this. Stone under us, the river below, the forest moving, and Martha's unnecessary breath ghosting over my lips. She pulls back just enough to look at me. You jumped, she says. That is more than most. I walked, I correct her, for once. Technicality, she says, but she's smiling now. Not the sharp, mocking smile, something small and real that makes my chest hurt in a different way. Do you ever believe in fate? I ask. For real, not just as a word to blame. She looks back out at the forest. Sometimes, she says, when too many things line up, when the corridors misbehave in ways that feel pointed, when people who should be dead keep finding their way back to the same place. Like me, I say. Like you, she says, and like her. We both know who her is. Neither of us says Sasha's name out loud. The forest keeps breathing. Somewhere far away, thunder rumbles without lightning. Darkwood's weather, Darkwood's mood. For a while we just sit there, two tiny figures on a big old staircase, watching a world that does not care about us one bit and yet somehow keeps bending around us. Somewhere else, far from Darkwood, in a tower that smells of old paper and singed air, Sasha flinches. She is halfway through a complicated piece of corridor math when it happens, a tiny snap at the edge of her awareness, like a thread breaking. For a heartbeat, she sees it in her mind, a small, cracked device tumbling end over end into darkness. The red light inside it winks out. Her spell stutters. The corridor line she was drawing with amber fire flickers, then steadies again under her hands. "Oh," she says softly. Around her, the room is quiet. The ward that Alinis built into the walls hums like a distant beehive, annoyed but stable. The castle's courtyard beyond the window goes about its business, unaware that one of its more dangerous daughters just lost a particularly annoying toy. She could rebuild the link, try to trace the ashes of the magic, follow them through the cracks, pull on every loose end until she finds the right one. It would take time and power and more patience than she currently has. Instead, she lets the broken thread fall. "So you chose, Max," Sasha murmurs. Not angry, not sad, just taking note. At her fingertips, orange light curls and tightens. The spell that she was working on reshapes itself around the empty space in the room. Plans adjust, paths change. The game moves on. She smiles then, a small, sharp thing that has nothing of childhood left in it. "Fine," she says to the empty room. "Let's see where you will land without me." She turns back to the open corridor in front of her. Somewhere very far away, Darkwood is breathing. Back on the steps, the night drops another shade darker. The river keeps talking to itself. The castle behind us creaks and settles, like an old beast rolling in its deep. Martha's head rests comfortably on my shoulder now. My arm has fallen asleep, but I don't dare to move. I look out at the forest that's supposed to eat me and wonder how long I have before it tries. Not running is also a kind of magic.